at some of these guards that I've been digging into. I know this was someone that Raph liked a lot when we were down there. Keyonte George, who's the shooting guard out of Baylor, 6'4". He's averaging 15, 4, and 3, but 38% from the field, 34% from 3, but on 7 attempts. So what you see there is a guy that's not afraid to shoot. And right now I feel like, man, we've got some guys that are afraid to shoot on our team from beyond the arc. We just don't have the volume that other teams do, and that gets us into trouble. And Keyonte George can also make some shots. Like I saw numerous games where they were going to him late in games. He's got something off the dribble, but I think he'd be a really good 2-guard for us.
What's nice about him is that he's projected right now to be in that like 9, 10-ish range.
Yeah,
so that's going to be something that we can maybe even pick up with the second pick, perhaps.
Yeah.
So he's definitely a player I could see being
he's on the radar.
In Orlando for sure. He's high on my radar. Yeah. Because depending on what we do with the first pick, if he's there as the second pick, I'm going to be ecstatic because I think he's a great player and in a good way to go. Another player that people talk about that's really high in the draft right now is Brandon Miller.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, obviously everybody loves him. They're talking about him actually being number 2 over Scoot at this point. I
think he should be.
Which I think it's one of those things where he's getting a chance to play on national TV right now and people are getting to see him. And I always think, you get a bump from the tournament.
A little bump, yeah, man.
Right? Like as much as Zach Edey is now going to get a bump down from losing the first round.
Valley.
But if you go on a nice run here, you can get a nice bump up too. So I think before it's all said and done, he could jump out of our possibility unless we happen to land one of those top 3 picks.
And he's listed as a small forward. He's a forward, 6'9", 200 pounds, averaging 19, 8, and 2. He crashes the boards, which I knew that you would love. I saw him going for multiple offensive rebounds off his own shots.
Love it.
I was like, Pich is going to love this.
Yes.
40% from 3 on 7.5 attempts. So a much more prolific shooter than Keyonte, who we were just talking about. But this guy has size on top of that. I mean, he reminds me, honestly, of a little bit of Jabari Smith Jr. last year in terms of the height and the high point of his release and how dynamic a shooter he can be. But he has way more off the dribble and more athleticism, I think, than Jabari Smith Jr. I think he's a much better prospect. But again,
I would agree.
This is a position that we've got Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner. If you get number two or second or third pick and Brandon Miller falls to you, you take that. You take him immediately.
Unlike Penny Hardaway, I'm going to use a timeout in an appropriate moment here to tell you to just stop looking at the positions by these players and think about what they can do. A guy at 6'8" who can shoot like that can be a shooting guard in this NBA that we have right now. I get that.
Can he guard it too? I don't watch enough film of him yet to see.
I feel like when you have that kind of length, it's a little easier to guard a Donovan Mitchell who's a 6'3" or 6'4" because you have that advantage in the wingspan department. So don't let that. Small forwards can be shooting guards. Point guards can usually be shooting guards. They can usually kind of move one or the other depending on how hard they hit the weight room or what they're slated to do. So I'm not that worried about the position for him. I don't think he's going to steal Paulo or Franz minutes if we had him on our team. I think he just slots in as the 2-guard. Markelle is our point guard. Wendell at the 5, and off we go. Like that's,
I don't know if it might work on offense, but I don't know if it will work on defense. We'll see. It would be tough in certain matchups. And then the elephant in the room is the off the court stuff with Brandon Miller too. I love immediately everything I see on the court in terms of highlights, but he's been involved in some pretty dumb, reckless shit lately.
True.
On the flip side, this can be, we talked about Markelle Fultz before, a very different thing. This can be a rock bottom moment for him. These are young kids, so hopefully these can be moments that they rebound from, but how they react will determine their future. So I don't know.
Luckily, Brandon Miller follows his own shots, so we know he rebounds well.
That is true. And I think that even with all that swirling, I don't know. We'll see if Jeff and John would take the chance on the kid. What do you think about Scoot? Can we talk about Scoot a little bit? Because
I'd rather Scoot by, but go ahead.
He was for a long time talked about as the surefire number 2, and Brandon Miller has now kind of surpassed that and is in number 2 in a lot of people, depending on the team that drafting too.
I've seen.
What do you think about Scoot?
Personally, I don't think we're gonna get Scoot, and I'm fine with that. I've seen him play a few games, and he's never jumped out to me. Mm-hmm. I've obviously seen the highlights where, by the way, highlight packages always have the highlights. So it's hard to assess that. I like to see a game to see like how people jump off the page to me. And he didn't jump off the page either game I saw, but I've seen games, where he's had incredible stat lines, and I've heard multiple things. So maybe I just happen to catch him on a couple of off days. I don't know. But I just don't see us being in position to draft him. Like a top 3 pick, and us going, he's the guy. But somebody else would want him. So if we had that number 2 pick and somebody else really wants him, I could see us spinning a deal.
Yeah.
And that, to be honest, is one of the main reasons I don't like to think about us getting, winning the lottery again or anything like that. But if we land a top 3 pick, I want us thinking trade.
Interesting.
Because I think we can trade back to like 4, 5, or 6. And still have 2 top 10 picks, just like we have now, and get more capital.
Let's talk about the Thompson Twins. They're more someone I think that has the quickness to guard a 2. They're 6'7", 6'6", respectively. Pretty much facsimiles of each other, being twins and all. This is for Amen. 16 points, 6.5 boards, 6 assists, 57% from the floor, 23% from 3. Not a great 3-point shot maker right now, but he can get his own shot. He's more of the shot creator of the 2 twins, it seems, shooting over smaller guards in that mid-range, and he seems like a better passer of the 2. But, to say that Asar is therefore the much better shooter.
Oh, it's shooting, Asar?
How do you think it's pronounced?
Azur?
No, I think it's Asar.
Okay.
And the highlights I
haven't heard
listening
it.
to.
I haven't heard it said.
He's shooting 30% from 3, so I guess I like Amen a little bit more because he has more skill on the dribble.
Well, we know J.I. is praying for him to join the team.
So
he laughs like he didn't expect a biblical reference.
So he can yell Amen from the sideline?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how I feel too much about the Thompson Twins.
Yeah, it's tough because you see them play and they're playing in some, I don't know what league,
overtime,
I don't know what this league is they're playing in. I don't
like,
understand the league.
Seems like really
it's like when I watch
league.
Victor Wembanyama dunking on French guys and I'm just like, yeah, but
this is like the 5th or 6th best league in the world. Like, what does this mean? Yeah,
but they do look good and they have been playing, I think steel, what is it, iron sharpens iron or whatever. It's like if these 2 guys are going toe to toe their entire life,
right?
That's good because they're both real good. So I like both of these guys. I'd be glad to have either one on the squad from what I've seen, and I think there's a very good chance we can get one.
Yeah,
because I just feel like they're gonna be there at 4, 5, 6, which is a very likely place for us to be drafting. So get your Thompson Magic jerseys now and then just figure out
put the number on later.
Put the number on later. You can even put a Thompson if you want. And then we'll just figure out which one it is. I think there's a possibility we could get them both.
We like drafting. We like having brothers on the squad.
Yeah, let's brother it up. Let's go. Like just have them both on there. And
get Rolo back and then Brooke.
Change that whole backcourt and then worry about filling your big man hole through free agency.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, everything I've heard about these guys through people that have interacted with them speak very highly of the type of young men that they are. They seem to have a really good head on their shoulders. Mm-hmm. So that rings like high character guy that Weltman and Hammond like. I think that really,
who else loves high character guys? Disney, and they're a sponsor. So
bring him on in.
Bring that character.
Amen. Another guy that's high on people's boards is Nick Smith Jr. He's from Arkansas, right? Yep. He also plays with Anthony Black. Mm-hmm. There are 2 guards on that team that are touted to be within the top 10 to 15.
I haven't liked as much of what I've seen from them as I've seen from like Keyonte George or the Thompson Twins. But I understand they're going to be around in that second pick we make. That's around where these guys are slated to be, somewhere in the 8 to 10 range. Same thing with Gradey Dick is slated to be somewhere like right in the end of the top 10.
You liking Dick, Pich? I mean, the penis puns on this show would be outrageous.
I've already commented on some people's things on Twitter because I think it's funny whenever they like mention him and they'll like write they write like a basic sentence you'd write about any human. But because they refer to him as Dick, it's hilarious. And no one laughs. And I'm just like, how is everybody
so mature
being mature about this? You could have called him Gradey, but no, you went with Dick. You knew what you were doing. So let me laugh at it and let me enjoy it. And let's just go.
How long has that been one of the preferred words for the male genitalia? I mean, is it going to be around for a while? You think that the Dick family is trying to just outlast?
Dick is not going anywhere. I got news for you, Dicks. It is not going to leave anytime soon.
He's touted as the best shooter in the draft. I think what I saw from Brandon Miller, I liked a little bit better. But
yeah, agreed.
At the guard position, this is kind of the player that fits best with what the Orlando Magic need.
He kind of reminds me of a guy that's just going to be a shooter out there. I'm trying to think of some quick comparisons from what I've seen off the top of my head.
There's another white
It's all going to be shooting white guys like JJ Redick and things of that nature. So, hey, Red Dick. Interesting.
Hey, it's me.
Are they related? But yeah, and I don't tend to like those guys on a team, but they do have a ton of value, and every team seems to have one, right? Like just a white boy who can come in and shoot the lights out. And honestly, we need shooting. Yeah, so who am I to turn that down?
He's a good
Who
defender.
am I to turn down Dick? That was just for you.
Oh, man.
Dick puns all summer long on Court Cousins.
We can't handle this, dude. Weltman, Hammond, please pass on this guy.
I know. I kind of want to just pass on him just for that. Like, I just let this dick be someone else's problem.
Oh, man. I feel like my girl has felt that in the last few days at some points. But I think he's the best. He's probably one of the best fits. Yeah. He plays better defense than people give him credit for.
Yeah,
he's bouncy. He's more athletic. He gets kind of pigeonholed in the white boy shooter thing, but he's a really good defender and doesn't turn the ball over. That's one of his very plus assists. He's a smart player, good shooter. That's kind of what we need. So
yeah, if like you said, worst case scenario, we ended up drafting like 7 or 8 and 12 or something like that. Gradey Dick's probably going to be there.
Yeah,
for one of those picks.
Yeah.
I'd like him to be our second pick, versus our first.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
Aside from the name thing, which you have to overlook when you're looking at this, if you got to be serious for a second, he is a good fit.
Some other guys that I have a tough time getting behind. It's like Jarris Walker, Cam Whitmore.
You shouldn't have trouble getting behind him. You should for us, because I don't think that's necessarily.
Well, that's what I'm saying. No, they're
an
dynamic
undersized
player.
power forward,
right? It's giving me. Yeah. I mean, Jarris Walker. I don't know if it's because he has the same hairstyle, just giving me Beef Stew. Isaiah Stewart. He wears his hair in like a very similar way that Beef Stew did for a while.
But much shorter.
No. Beef Stew's 6'7", 6'8".
Oh, I thought Beef Stew was like 6'10".
He plays like that, right? But he's not, and then that's why they're very similar.
Well, Charles
players.
Barkley was 6'6" in his prime, and he was the round mound of rebounds. So,
exactly.
I mean, you can get it done if you use your size.
But we got Moritz Wagner. We got some guys where even Wendell is undersized at times in terms of a shot blocker. Right? Mm-hmm. He uses his body well, the enforcer. But I don't know if we want to duplicate that skill. But yeah, man, he's a big body, force of nature type of guy. He will be an undersized big, but a plus defender. He has shown the ability to step out and knock down the three, even though he's shooting 34% on only 2.7 attempts. But he's a monster.
There's 2 more guys we haven't talked about that I feel like fall in the top 12 in most of the mock drafts that I see. So I'll just throw their names out. One is Cam Whitmore from Villanova.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him play a ton, but 6'7", 232. I'm not really sure. I haven't seen him enough to like really have a good evaluation at this point. That will be something I look into as we go forward. So
the vibe I got, because he has really good handle for a guy his size. Like 6'7" isn't huge, but he's a thick boy. Like he's muscular, like he's gonna move people around. And
I love that.
Yeah, definitely. And he's not shy of contact, and he has really nice handle, which gave me like watered down Anthony Edwards feeling vibes. Like that type of game can kind of take you off the dribble, and his shot is decent enough, 35% from 3 on 4 attempts a game. So it's a part of his game that people have to look out for and defend against.
the last person I had on my list that we have not mentioned yet.
Yeah.
All the Florida people know him. It's Taylor Hendricks from UCF.
Okay.
6'9", 210. I don't necessarily know as though he's a fit for our squad, but I think he's a good player. And at one point, I think he was under the radar because he's with UCF and they're in the NIT. But he is a good player. I did watch them play against Florida the other day, and he played a great game. I think he's going to be a good player in the league. I'm just not so sure he's going to end up on our squad just because of like a fit. Like, he's not the big we're looking for, and he's not the guard we're looking for. So I feel like he's going to just fall away from it. But a lot of Orlando Magic fans are definitely going to be like, oh, is this guy? He's here. Come on. Cheerleaders that cheered him on are our cheerleaders. Come on. Hey. And it's like, maybe. But nobody would hate it. I certainly wouldn't because I liked what I've seen. But I just don't see that as the fit. I dug a little bit deeper. If you want to talk about big men, the top 5 centers of the draft. I haven't seen them all, but obviously we've seen Zach Edey with Purdue. He is just too slow, I think, to make it in the NBA. Yes. Somebody will probably take a waiver on him, but I just feel like he's too slow to really keep up with the game. If he can find a way to lose a little weight and speed up, maybe. Armando Bacot from North Carolina, I love.
Of course you do.
He's the all-time leading rebounder in North Carolina history, so that counts for something. He could be somebody you get late in a late round.
Sonogo playing for UConn.
Yep.
Beasting people right now.
Doing work. I mean, these are all guys that I think that could be like a late, but that could be a second round pick.
They're undersized too in terms of NBA. Like they're they give me Wendell Carter vibes.
I know, but there's the thing. Wendell plays the 5 for us. So sometimes guys at 6'10" or 6'11", like you said earlier, can use their beef and play a little bit bigger than their actual size.
For sure.
I'm not so sure if those guys can do it, but if you're taking a second round shot on one of these guys to fill your big role, you're not really putting a lot into it. If we're going to fill the big hole, you've got to fill it with free agency.
That's interesting.
And if we're going to fill the guard hole, you can fill it with, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it yet, but at some point we might be able to make those puns. Go Kansas.
Who do we miss? Who are you having your eye on right now? Very early, obviously. Yeah. Very, very early mock draft and draft thinkings. Who do you like?
Did you declare for the NBA draft? Comment below. Let us know who you are. Send us your package. We'll take a look at it.
Send us your package. There's just too many dick puns. We just can't have this.
I don't dick. Do not send me your package.